Alright, so before you can go ahead and melt your lead, you need to create your mold for your lead. The mold is for you to be able to put your cage in, put your lead in, and then it'll be able to hold lead at the bottom of your cage. So for instance, like this. This is the mold that I use right here, and it'll fit my Twinkie cage and my granola cage. Okay, so that's how it's supposed to work. So in the past, I would use wood. The wood, I would carve into the wood, and I would be able to stick the cage in and melt the lead right on. The only problem is, over time, it will burn the wood and it will create ridges at the bottom, so it wouldn't be too smooth, and then I would have to carve another one, and that just took way too long. So I thought about gluing wood together. Taking two pieces of wood, glue them together, and be able to create a mold like this one right here and melt the lead. However, same thing, over time the wood burn and it creates bumps and ridges at the bottom. What you would have to do to get the lead to smooth out at the bottom is sand the lead, and that just took way too much work. So that's something that I used in the past as well. I took something like this, I cut out a piece and glue it to another piece of wood, but same thing. It just creates too much bumps and ridge at the bottom, and it doesn't work out too well unless I sand the lead, and that's just way too much work. I even tried gluing the wood to a stainless steel metal, something like this, to where the bottom would stay smooth. However, because of the heat, it would break the wood, and it would cause the wood to come off of the metal piece, and it wouldn't work too well. I tried soap dish molds. These are the molds they use to make soap out of. They are very heat resistant, so they can hold pretty much high heat, and they're able to do it. However, the problem is finding the correct mold for the size of your snare. Now, I can go ahead and make the snare the size of the mold. However, I would be ruining the effectiveness of the snare by making it the size of the mold rather than keeping it the size that I want. This is the perfect size. Perfect size to bait the cage, be able to cast it out far, and effective in catching the crabs. So I don't want to jeopardize that by creating a cage that will fit the mold, but it doesn't work out too well. Now, I try to find different type of molds to fit the cage, and then let me tell you, it's hard to find the exact same size mold in order for you to fit your cage. Trying to find the right size is almost impossible. So I tried that as well. For my leaning tower, I use a cupcake motor. I will make the round one, stick it in there, dump the lead in there, and these cupcake motors, they're great for the round snares that I make. So these are the ones that I used in the past. Now, what I narrow it down to that's best for me are the drywall. So the drywall is best for me and my snares in molding the lead onto it. The reason why is because I can customize the size according to exactly the size of my snare without jeopardizing it. And when it becomes rigid and rough at the bottom, I can always sand it out and smooth it out before I melt more lead in there. So therefore, I can reuse over and over and over again without having to worry about the bottom being so rough. And these tend to work out well. And not only that, it will take me an hour to carve into this wood. It would take me 45 minutes to cut the wood accordingly, and then glue it on, and then wait overnight before it dries out. And everything else just takes too long. This will take me about half an hour to carve out, ready to go. And again, if it gets too rough at the bottom, I can continue shaving and sand it down, and then can reuse it again. And it's real quick. It's quick, it's effective, and it works well for me and my snares. So for today, what I'm going to do is show you how to create a mold based on drywall. And that's what I use here, and that's what's best for me. Now, in the future, if I really get into it, what I could do is find a customized metal shop and have them fabricate me these molds right here in order for me to melt it onto hard aluminum. That way I can get the shape I want, the size I want, the design I want, and then the outcome that I want as well. What we're looking for is lead that is perfectly covering the bottom and is smooth. And then I'm going to show you how to angle the lead so the lead is angled at one side, and I'm going to tell you why as well. So today we're going to talk about lead molds and how to make the molds correctly. So come take a look. Before we go ahead and cut out our mold and shape it into the size that we need in order to melt the lead, what we're going to do first is we're going to measure our cage. So we're going to measure our cage down to the centimeter, and what we're going to do is make sure that we have the exact size. Now when you measure it, you want to make sure you measure from the farthest end to the farthest end, okay? And this measurement is very crucial in making sure you have the right size. So this is roughly close to 2.5 inch long. And then on this side, again, from the farthest end to the farthest end, it's close to 2 inch. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and create my mold here by measuring it out. So I'm going to leave a gap to make sure that I don't break while I do the mold. So I want to leave at least a 1/2 inch to a 1/2 inch gap on each side. Okay. Now from here, my first long one was close to 2.5. So I'm going to measure it from there to there. So I'm going to connect the 2 dots, and that's how long my cage is. Now the other side is rough, close to 2. So I'm going to go from there to there. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. It's going to be close to 2. So it should be somewhere around there. But this one is close to 2.5. Okay, and then I want to measure each side to make sure that it's the same length going all the way up, and it is. And then I'm going to go ahead and close it up. And that's what I have, and that right there should fit my cage perfectly. Now that I have my outline, I'm going to go ahead and use a blade to cut down before I start shaving. Now remember, when you cut, make sure you keep a smooth line because these are your borders. So you want your borders to be smooth as well. So I'm going to take my ruler to help me out. And I want to make sure I cut exactly on the line without crossing it out, without over crossing it, okay? So you want to make sure you do exactly, cut exactly on the mark. Okay, and I'm going to do just a short cut, just a small cut all the way around before I go deeper. So now that I have my cut, what I'm going to do is cut it down a little bit deeper, slowly, without crossing the lines, because you want a perfect shape. So you don't want any uneven cuts. You want to make sure your cuts are nice and smooth. So all I'm going to do is go through the line and press down, cut straight down. Okay, and I'm going to do that all the way around. Okay, so now that I got the cut in, okay, it's roughly about a 1/4 inch cut. I'm going to go ahead and peel off the top. Again, I'm still being careful to the edges to make sure that I don't overcut the edges. Okay, and take a flat. Okay, and what you want to do is go straight over the top. And get the rest out. Alright, now once you get the paper off the top, you see you have your mold, okay? You can use your flat and go around the edges to make sure that they're all smooth out. Remember, try not to overcut. Take your time with this part because this part is very important. Okay? And all I'm doing is making it deeper and deeper. Okay? Now, what you're going to start doing is shaving off the top. Okay? And you're going to continue shaving until you get roughly about 1/2 inch down. And once in a while, again, go around the edges to make sure that you're making the sides straight and deeper to continue shaving off the top. Now, to make this process go a little bit faster, only if you want to, get you a scraper, one of these paint peelers with a sharp edge. Okay, and go ahead and use that. Now, that's only if you want to get the extra tool. Otherwise, you can continue using the flat screwdriver. And make sure that you don't scrape along the edge, okay? And that's the reason why we create indentations around the edge, to give us the depth that we need, as well as keeping it smooth. See? See how you keep the edge smooth? That's what you want. And while you're doing this, you want to make sure that it's even on all sides. So one side is not dug up too much and the other side is has a slope. You want to make sure everything is even. Okay, so you want an even surface. And that's why I'm keep turning it around in different sides to make sure that I get the depth and the smoothness I need. So I'm almost there. So before I end it, go towards the end, what I'm going to do is the depth on my side, I want to make sure that it's down to the very bottom to where I want to go. I don't want to go any further than that, okay? Because if I cut it too deep, it's going to create indentations on the side when I melt the lead. So I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it down. Now what I'm going to do towards the end is shave this off until the depth of the side. So as deep as the sides are, that's how deep I'm going to go in the center, and then that's it, okay? So now I did a little bit indentation. That should give me about ½ an inch. I'm going to shave off the rest, and then I'm going to make sure that I even it out on all sides. now that I have the depth that I need, this is how deep I want it. It's pretty much smooth and even surface. It's not elevated on one side or the other, so it's smooth and straight. So now that everything's even and it's an even surface, I want one side to be heavier than the other, so that way I can cast it out further. So in order for me to do that, what I'm gonna do is shave half of this mold right here just a little bit deeper, so that way I can get more lead on one side than the other. So right now, all we're doing is just shaving one side to make it a little bit deeper than the other side. Okay, so I'm creating a little slope, just like in a swimming pool. When you see a swimming pool that's empty, one side is deeper than the other side, and that's what we want this mold to look like. Okay, and I'm gonna mark an X to let me know that this side is the heavier. Okay, so that's the heavier side, and that plays a big difference. All I'm doing is smoothing out the other side. That's it. I'm not creating any dents. I'm not creating any more cuts. All I'm doing is smoothing it out. Okay, so now I have a little slope. Okay, so this side, it goes down like this from here to here. Okay, so that's what I want to do, and that's how you create your mold. Now the next step is take a little bit of sandpaper, and you want to sand down this area to smooth it all out. And all this, you can grab all these tools at Home Depot. Okay, Home Depot, Lowe's. I recommend going to Lowe's. Lowe's, they tend to have all the supplies that you need. So here's a little bit of sandpaper. Okay, so all I'm gonna do is just rip off the square. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with the side, and I'm gonna sand the side. What this does, it smooths everything out, so there's no bumps, there's no holes, because once you create your lead mold, you want to make sure everything's already smoothened out. So you want to take your time, go ahead and sand down everything. Okay, it's pretty smooth. You're good to go. So there's some loose pieces. Just want to go ahead and make sure you get them out. Tap on it, make sure it comes out. And this is your mold. This is what you get. So it's a little dip right there. Everything's smoothed out. And it'll fit your cage perfectly. Okay, and all you got to do now from here is melt your lead, pour your lead straight into there, and when you pour it in, one side is going to be heavier than the other side, and you want that so that way when you cast it, the heavier side is going to shoot out, and it's going to be able to allow you to cast your snare a little bit further. Boom, there you go. Now, when it comes to the Twinkie and the granola cage, the previous mold that I used, you do the same thing. You measure it, you measure the snare, you make sure that it's the right size, and then you go ahead and cut it out, shave it down, sand it out, make sure everything's smooth before you go ahead and melt your lead. Okay, now this is what I mean. After a while, when it's used, it gets a little bit bumpy at the bottom. Okay, creates ridges. So what you end up doing is you can refurbish it, and all you have to do is shave the bottom and make it brand new again. And I'm actually going to go ahead and refurbish this so you can take a look. But same process with the brownie cage, the square cage, same process to create your mold. And I'm going to go ahead and refurbish this one. Okay, take a look from this one to that one. Okay, so refurbished, no problem there. And I'm gonna use it until it's completely gone, and then I will make another mold from it. Okay, so let's refurbish the rest. Alright, refurbished. I made roughly about 10 snares in each one. So it'll last up to about roughly 10 snares before you have to refurbish it again. And then it probably lasts about another 10 snares before you have to create you another one. But in a little bit of no time, you can create this. This is less time to create than this, than this, than this. Okay? So it takes a lot less time than wood. A lot less time. And on top of it, this will give you the customized shape you need compared to when you buy a mold for soap, to make soap. You got to find the right size. It's hard. So this right here is the best recommendation. Drywall. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you got something out of it. Now remember, it's very important for you to take your time making your mold because you're going to melt lead directly onto the snare, and that's going to set a foundation for the rest of your snares and how your lead weight turns out. So in the next video, what we're going to do is focus on melting lead directly onto our cage, so that way you have lead weights on your craft snares. Watch out for that video. That's going to come out real soon. Until next time, peace out.
They follow me like paparazzi, and I feel feel like someone's watching me right now, right now. They follow me like paparazzi, and they know just how to ride.